What's up, everybody, and welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. I'm Drew Bosley, that's Scott Savage, and you can join us at InsideTheGame.ca, YouTube, and Inside the Game Official. Our friends over at Fired Up Network has 212 platforms. You can join us. You can follow us over there. Things like, you know, SoundCloud, all those services. That's right, they've got a ton of them, and we're on them all. So make sure you swing over there. And of course, those beautiful TV streaming networks around the globe: Roku, Amazon Prime, Samsung Plus, Jinx Esports TV, ESTV, the list just keeps going. But there's a long list on today's show. Scott, what are we talking about today?
Today we have some hot news. Armored Core 6 gameplay video dropped, and I think there was about 13 minutes. I have a lot of thoughts on that one. We also have Ubisoft canceling a sequel, and that's real negative, actually. I'm not very happy about that one myself, but we'll get into that. Exoprimal has surpassed a milestone. Congratulations to them, and they are very proud, and well-deserved, really. Trine 5 has a release date reveal. We finally know there is more to the Trine series. And Warframe publisher has started making a fantasy MMO. I have questions. Warframe is sort of fantasy, I guess.
Kinda, sorta, yeah. Dude, there's lots to talk about today. Let's get going. Scott, topic number one is the big one, as Armored Core 6 gameplay video shows 13 minutes of the game in action. This is Chris Scullion over at VGC. From Software and Bandai Namco have released 13 minutes of gameplay footage for Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. Dude, Rubicon, I don't know why, I just go to Transformers.
That's exactly what I was going to say, yeah.
Just automatic, man, I don't know. It is what it is. But the video shows some of the game's main mechanics, including the Assault Boost ability, which is used for traversal and combat. It also shows how players can use vertical catapults to launch high into the air and take to the action to the skies. The game's stagger mechanics is also shown, in which players can damage the attitude control system of tougher enemies to put them temporarily out of action and leave them exposed. The video also gives another summary of the game's plot. In a future where interstellar travel is commonplace, our story begins in a distant star system on a fictional planet, Rubicon 3. It says, our protagonist, an independent mercenary, is smuggled into Rubicon in search of a mysterious new substance known as coral. Huge, multi-layer stages will let players make the most of their Armored Core exceptional movement and attack capabilities. Scott, what are your thoughts on Armored Core 6 after watching the 13 minutes of footage?
Oh, the 13 minutes has upped my hype quite a bit.
Yeah,
I kind of know what to expect because of Armored Core 3, I think it was, that I'd seen back on PlayStation 3 days. So I kind of know what we're getting here, but having a little bit more of the detail, the kind of speed that I'm seeing has me excited. The idea of attacking enemies' attitude, what they showed for the example as they described that was a ginormous chip boss fight. And it made me think of Nier Automata, potato,
Yeah,
because it's just giant. I have to now. It's just because it's these giant scale fights is something that I didn't quite realize we're gonna get now on new gen consoles. It does make sense, but even when they speak of the traversal, looks out across this multi-layered map, and that gives me the idea that we're getting something like Dark Souls size, something with intricate kind of shortcuts, I hope. But the only issue that I have really with the entire video was, why are there catapults just laying around?
Yeah, you know, I thought it was an interesting take on the game. They said it was a live stream. It was really a pre-recorded 13-minute video that was then uploaded and sent out, kind of thing. But I still appreciate what it is. It's just not for me. Still, I've never really been a mech person unless you're talking about Metal Gear, and then that's really just the villain. So I'm not still
I was going to catch you there.
The mech, right? I'm not the mech. That's not my main motivation of getting into games or playing as the main protagonist, to be in a mech suit. Mind you, there are a couple of things. Like, we just recently played Exoprimal. You are a mech in a sense, right? You're in this exo suit. And the other things like the Javelin out of Anthem. But still, when it comes down to this big mech bulky thing, you're used to them being kind of relatively slow. Dude, like Mech Warrior comes to mind, right? How slow and sluggish that is. The movement here in Armored Core 6, dude, that was fast paced. There's a lot going on. I love the bigger ships. All of a sudden, now that you're into this huge boss fight, they kind of showed off, and that thing is massive. Just kind of how you touched on it, right? It does remind you of some of the other From Software games that this isn't small scale by any means. It's just at the end of the day, for me, I know this isn't going to be for me, and I'm okay with that. I'm kind of disappointed that I can't get into this game, but for me, I'm like, I'm gonna watch this one from the outside. Everything I've heard, because a bunch of previews just dropped yesterday as well. A lot of people went like 4 hours with the game and actually got hands on, and they're coming in pretty hot. Like, they're pretty ravenous about how well this thing is, how well it plays, how well it feels, and all this other stuff. I'm like, this sounds cool. It kind of reminds me a little bit how Diablo 4 is right now. It's on fire, right? Everybody's talking about Diablo 4, but I'm not a Diablo guy. But listening to everybody talk about it kind of makes me want to play it. And listening to some of the stuff, I was listening over to our friends over Kind of Funny, and I'm watching them, and Blessings talking about his time with Armored Core, and I was like, dude, that sounds cool, but I don't think it's enough for me to actually want to dive in. But I knew you were a little bit more hyped on this. We're hoping, we got our fingers crossed that we're going to get a code and be able to review it for everybody, but time will tell whether or not that actually comes around. But the systems and the stuff, I'm like, okay, cool. Protagonist sounds like he doesn't say a word again. Like, here we go with another silent protagonist. Dude, it's killing me this year.
In the cockpit.
Oh man, it's killing me this year. I just don't get it. There's no personality there. That's what it throws me off, man.
Yeah, there is something to be said there, but I'm thinking of FromSoft games. I don't think you ever speak.
Yeah.
And it's not necessary. They do a lot of environmental storytelling as well, so don't expect to be fed the cutscene after cutscene. It might not happen that way, but I have so much excitement knowing what FromSoft can do. Yep. I'm wondering what the twisted imagination is going to bring to this game. It surely will not just be large ships. There's going to be some sort of monster.
No, absolutely. It was cool to see this leg come off of the one big structure, and as that fell off of the mech and it landed, dude, this massive cloud of dust kind of overtook everything, right? Like, that's impressive. Just to see that alone go along, I'm like, yeah, that is cool. And I'm going to definitely probably be missing out on some of these moments. But I do look forward to hearing about them.
I have a nitpick that I saw. When they drop down onto the water surface,
yeah,
why is there no water surface effect? It's like they landed on concrete. That's just a small nitpick again. But
I saw the water, and I was like, that doesn't... It looks like tar, almost, to me. It didn't really look like water. So I was kind of... Yeah, we'll
almost
see.
Like a salt flat, but different colors.
Yeah, but there's definitely been a lot of hype. We'll keep an eye on it, and we'll see if we can get into it. But Scott, you'll be keeping a closer eye than I am. Let us know over on Twitter, though. The official ITG. Are you hyped for Armored Core 6? Scott, topic number 2 on... dude, this one hurts. This is not cool. If the sources are correct, Ubisoft has canceled its Immortals Fenyx Rising sequel. Andy Robinson over at VGC says Ubisoft has canceled plans for the sequel of 2020's mythology open world adventure game, Immortals Fenyx Rising. Really? Don't do this to me, Ubisoft. I adored that game, dude. That was cool. Phoenix was a cool character. I do wonder whether they're going to take it as a continuation, though, or are we moving into a different character altogether. I'll get
actually, I think you spoke of that a little bit at the time, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. That's according to multiple development sources who told VGC anonymously that a follow-up game was in early development at Ubisoft Quebec, but a company leadership ultimately decided to cancel it earlier this month due to perceived challenges around establishing the IP. Man, really?
Oh.
That's... I thought it took off actually rather well, and it was well beloved by fans, I know that much. The original Immortals, which was also developed by Assassin's Creed Odyssey studio, Ubisoft Quebec, received general favorable reviews. Exactly. Ubisoft's intention was to grow Immortals into a franchise, with journalist Jeff Grubb reporting last year that it intended to explore different mythologies other than Greece with future games, such as... Yeah, exactly. Dude, there's other opportunities here. The DLC kind of got into some of the other opportunities that came around when it came to the mythologies and how that kind of lined up. But we'll talk about that as well in a second. The original game saw players controlling a forgotten hero on a quest to save the Greek gods. Later, the game's DLC explored Chinese mythology by having players take control of a new hero, martial artist Ku. Dude, it was cool. Like, some of the DLC was actually cool. Some of it, not so much. Sources told VGC future plans for Immortals were cast into doubt after the company decided to pivot towards its most prominent brands. Yeah, hello, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, that was a big shift.
Yeah, in January, Ubisoft said it had canceled 3 unannounced games, not including the Immortals sequel, and was planning to strengthen its focus on its biggest IPs and live service games, weaker than expected software sales over the holiday season. That's unfortunate, right? This year's Mirage is one of at least 6 Assassin's Creed games Ubisoft currently has in development, for example. And in May, the company announced plans to increase the number of staff working on the series by 40% over the coming years by relocating staff from other franchises, which sounds like Immortals Fenyx Rising. Scott,
Yeah.
what is going on here? What are your thoughts?
This sounds incredibly unfortunate because yourself, I know you really loved the game at some point. I think you remarked on that even when we were playing Xbox, just as a completely different game. You had to tell us all about. This is actually pretty solid, and on your recommendation, I actually bought it off the Xbox marketplace when it was on sale. But it did go on sale quite suspiciously soon. So I'm wondering if it really didn't land with everybody. Being a new IP is always difficult to launch, so that does make sense in some capacity.
It had this lighthearted approach. It broke the fourth wall in conversation with some others and stuff like that. Dude, it was a cool game. It was a solid game. It felt great. Everything worked really well. And then you got into the DLC. And then 2 of those DLCs were good. And then the third one was horrible. And the reason why it was horrible is because they switched up the whole game mechanic. You went from a third-person perspective to a top-down isometric. I'm like, yo, what is this? Like, you don't do that on the very last DLC of the game. And that part there crushed. Like, reviews, including my very own, were not well received when it came to that last DLC. But the overall experience of Immortals Fenyx Rising, dude, was great. The puzzles were fantastic. The sense of humor I thought was awesome. Like, there's so much to enjoy there that I still talk about that game to this day. And the fact that they aren't now rumorly suggesting that their game has been canceled kind of hurts, because I was looking to see where they take the next one. Does Phoenix stay at the helm when it comes to being as our main protagonist to move forward within the game, or are they going to branch off and take a different approach and go to somebody else and tell a new story, which is what they did with the DLC, right? Each new piece of DLC introduced a new character, and that's what I kind of thought we would be going with the next one, but apparently we might not get a next one, Scott.
No, that is really painful. I'm wondering if this is a casualty to sequelitis.
Yeah.
Everything was great. It worked out fine. But what do you do for a sequel? Do you just make it bigger, better, the same? Well, it seems they tried to experiment with different things, and maybe that last DLC was the experiment that was meant to inspire a sequel, but nobody seemed to like it.
Well, my worry here is, like, here it states over the staff working on the series by 40% is what they're going to increase and relocate from other franchises. So Immortals Fenyx Rising now is going to get dispatched and go back to Assassin's Creed. Man, like, I'm really nervous that all Ubisoft really cares about at this point is Assassin's Creed. Give us the valiant hearts of yesteryears, right? Like, these other smaller titles that Ubisoft used to produce. Why aren't we still getting those? Immortals Fenyx Rising was just a step up above that level, just because it was bigger in scope, really. It was kind of what it comes down to. But they're losing that charm of having some of these smaller scale games. Granted, we are getting that new Prince of Persia game coming in January that has a different approach. So maybe not all of it's gone, but I find they aren't hitting on all cylinders when they were back in the day with some of these smaller games. Child of Light kind of comes to mind, as well as another one that we just don't see these titles anymore. Instead, now it's, you know what it is? Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed, and Assassin's Creed. That's a problem, man. That's a huge problem.
I still have my fingers crossed for Prince of Persia. I don't want that to get lost in the mix of Assassin's Creed, although it's arguably very similar. So
yeah,
I'm worried this is indicative of Ubisoft feeling the pinch. Everybody all across the world seems to. That's the way our money works. But I hope this results in a rally. I think Ubisoft needs to rally, and maybe after the first couple Assassin's Creed, we can explore some of the other beloved IPs. Man. Splinter Cell comes to mind still. That might be, that's the emergency safety button to me for Ubisoft. And I want them to make good with their customer base, because this is generally the people who love Ubisoft are my age or older. We've been big fans of Ubisoft for so long, and I don't want to see them on shaky waters like this. No. I'm also hoping the backlash to this is not cruel, but it does. I hope somebody's listening.
I feel like they're using Assassin's Creed like a safety blanket. I think that's right. They're putting their money in there and bringing in more people to work on an Assassin's Creed title because it sells. And I get you got to go where the money is to some extent, but man, don't go away with some of the other good franchises that you still have.
Yeah, please. Bit of a surprising topic, this third one now. Exoprimal has reached 1 million players, and this comes from an official tweet. The tweet reads, "Over 1 million players have joined the war games in Exoprimal. To commemorate this milestone, a free Skywave skin will be included in the August 16th title update. We're hard at work on improvements to the game based on player feedback. Thank you for your ongoing support." And first of all, I want to say congratulations. That is a big number, and that sounds great. But I also want to highlight improvements based on player feedback is going to be a big deal with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder how big the install base is, because they reached 1 million players so quickly. Is that thanks to Game Pass? Because it's on Game Pass. And I feel a lot of the gamers alone are probably coming from Game Pass and not actually perhaps spending the full $60, Scott, and buying the game straight up. Instead, they're like, hey, we have Game Pass. It's a brand new game. Let's check this out and jump in there. And that's why I said we were there for a while. We did our review, and I definitely recommend you go check that out over at InsideTheGame.ca, and of course our YouTube channel, Inside the Game Official. But besides those reviews and some of the others, they had a bit of a mixed, warming reception, right? So I played it again the other day, and then I deleted it. But then part of me goes, I could kind of go for a little bit more Exoprimal. So maybe I'll download it again. I don't know.
I've been feeling the same thing. I think if we get enough of us on the team in one game, we could have a lot of fun with it. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, it was fun, but I thought overall the game was just okay.
Yeah, we played several hours, and I feel like we've seen all there is to see. Almost.
Yeah, but maybe a new update will introduce new modes. You never know. Alright, Scott, the next topic has me rather excited. I'm a big fan of Trine, and this is Trine 5. A Clockwork Conspiracy release date has been set for August 31st. Dude, I'm just a month away now from getting this one. This is Michael Hardens over at PSU. THQ Nordic and Frozen Byte has announced that Trine 5, A Clockwork Conspiracy, is launching on August 31st in 2023 for, well, pretty well everything. PlayStation 4, 5, PC, Nintendo Switch, Xbox Series of consoles. Like, dude, it is everywhere, which is nice to see that. Trine 5 follows the exploits of Amadeus the Wizard, Zoya the Thief, and Pontius the Knight, reuniting to battle against the fearsome Clockwork army and bring peace to the land. The fantasy puzzler combines 2.5D environments with the series' deepest and visually richest entry to date, featuring a brand new cast of characters. Besides their overall three, like the three have been there. Amadeus, Zoya, and Pontius have been there from the get-go, and I don't think you can really have a Trine game without those three. Like, they're the star of the game, right? Because they kind of make those games.
They are the try to the Trine?
Absolutely. So, yeah, dude, I've always loved the Trine series. I've always played it in co-op too. My son and I played 4 together. We played 3 together. We platinum 3 together. So here we are. We're getting the 5th one. Dude, I'm going to go back and I'm going to platinum this one now too. Hopefully it's not good. So we'll see.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
It's getting into that release window a little close to September. About as close as you can get, which has me nervous, but yeah, it is quite different than some of the other offerings we see in September.
No, absolutely. The biggest one obviously is September 6th with Starfield. So you got to watch where you're kind of releasing these games, especially when it comes to Trine. I don't think everybody knows about Trine, which is pretty disappointing because it is such a great puzzle game. It's something you should take a look at and may actually interest you. This 2.5D beautiful art style and the gameplay mechanic itself between the three and how they kind of mingle and work on the puzzles together. Dude, it's a ton of fun. I absolutely love the Trine series. Check that one out. Scott, Digital Extremes is back with another one. You just might know them from the Warframe That's right. Warframe publisher Digital Extremes launches I almost said Final Fantasy. It's not. It's Fantasy MMO Wayfinder into early access in August. This is Connor McCarr over VG 24/7. Wayfinder, the highly anticipated MMORPG from Airship Syndicate, is launching into early access on PC and PlayStation on August 15th. This comes following a series of invite-only closed beta tests earlier this year. If you didn't manage to get in, the doors are being flung wide open for you soon. Wayfinder is a third-person action MMO with a heavy focus on collection, very much like Warframe, a game to which it owes a good portion of the game design DNA. Airship Syndicate, known for its prior work on the Ruin King and Darksiders Genesis, is working alongside Warframe developer Digital Extremes to get this new MMO out into the world. As such, it shares similar traits to the sci-fi MMO. Scott, first impressions. Have you even seen this game? Did you know about this game?
I really know nothing about Wayfinder, and that's unfortunate. I'm interested now, knowing that Darksiders Genesis team has a bit to do with it. I'm excited. I really like that one.
They take a light-hearted approach on the art design, and that's kind of where right there I'm like, man, we're back in the world of Fortnite, right? Like, it gives me that Fortnite art style. I was like, it's charming, but I feel now it's just overdone. And I'm looking for something else, something unique, and hopefully we can get past this particular style. The one style that really stood out to me, if you haven't seen it yet, is Everwild from Rare. And that art style was stunning. So maybe one day we'll actually get that game, Rare. I don't know. We haven't heard anything else about it. But I'm looking forward to checking this one out. Wayfinder sounds really cool. It has... I've watched a couple of the trailers. I watched the dev team actually discuss the game itself as well. And they've seen there's a lot of passion here. And if you've played Warframe at all, man, like Digital Extremes have been playing Warframe and creating that game for feels like at least a decade now. And
yeah, funny enough, actually, you mentioned that, and I go, hold on, how old is Warframe? I remember a friend of mine suggesting that on the Switch when the Switch was brand new.
Yeah. It launched on PS4 back in the day. So to see this now launch on PS5, really not that surprising, right? They have that alliance already teamed up with PlayStation, so here it is. I saw it is on PC too, so you can get in. I wonder, there's got to be crossplay, I would hope, in this case, right? But in Wayfinder, you play as a Wayfinder, no kidding. As you delve into the gloom for loot and adventure, you can party up and head into a variety of challenging dungeons, or go out into the open world for a selection of thrills and dangers. It's all very early, of course, but from what we played in the closed beta, there was something special to it. That's exciting to hear from Connor. At least he's saying there is something here. I don't want to get into a new MMO. Dude, we've seen a lot of MMOs come out as of last year, this year, that they're just not hitting, right? Like Lost Ark comes to mind, Amazon comes to mind, Amazon Games, and they're... Yeah, they keep trying. Do not give it to them. They're persistent. At least they keep trying something. It's just not everything really seems to be sticking. But those who chose to jump into the early access version of Wayfinder will be able to try out the brand new sharpshooter Wayfinder Venomous, a new twist on the Battle Pass standard with the reward tower, and of course mess around with the game without worrying about servers closing down. Well, that'll wrap up today's episode, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll be back again tomorrow. I'm Drew. That's Scott.
We'll see you inside the game.